You ever look at a seed, just a tiny, dry thing, and wonder how it knows to just wake up? It feels like magic, right? But it's not. It's actually a secret chemical conversation. And today, we're going to decode that signal.
So here's the big puzzle. A seed is basically a packed lunch for a baby plant, right? It's full of energy, but it's all locked up. So how does it get the key to its own pantry, exactly when it needs it most? All right, to figure this out, we got to look inside the seed. It's basically got two main parts. First, you've got the embryo. Think of that as the tiny baby plant, the brains of the whole operation. Then there's the endosperm. This is just a massive food storage unit, packed to the brim with starch. But here's the catch. That starch is insoluble. The baby plant can't use it as is. It's like having a giant block of frozen food. You got to break it down into something usable first.
And the solution to this whole energy puzzle, it comes down to two key players, a hormone that acts like a messenger and an enzyme that does all the real work.
Okay, first up, meet Gibberellin. This is our messenger. When everything's just right, a little water, some warmth, the embryo starts pumping out this hormone. It's pretty much the embryo sending a text message that just says, "Wake up, it is go time."
So who gets that text message? Well, that signal triggers the production of our second hero, amylase. Amylase is what's called a digestive enzyme, and its whole job is to be like a pair of tiny molecular scissors, just chopping up those big, clunky starch molecules into small, simple sugars that the embryo can actually eat for energy.
So let's be super clear about this relationship, because it's the key to everything. Gibberellin doesn't do any of the actual digestion. Nope, it's just the signal. It's the boss shouting an order. And amylase? That's the worker who hears the order and actually goes out to unlock that food pantry. Okay, so that's the theory, right? The Gibberellin signal controls the amylase enzyme. But in science, a theory isn't enough. How do we actually prove it? How can we show that a stronger signal, more Gibberellin, leads to more action? Well, let's design an experiment to find out.
So for a proper fair test, the first thing we need is a range of our signal. We'll create a bunch of different solutions, each with a bit more Gibberellin than the last. And look at that first one, the one with 0 Gibberellin. That's our control. It's super important because it shows us what happens when there's no signal at all. That's our baseline.
The experiment itself is actually pretty elegant. It's a 4-step process. First, we get the seeds ready. Step 2, we soak them in those different Gibberellin solutions we just made. Step 3, we pop them onto a petri dish that's filled with starch. That's the food source. And finally, step 4, we wait a day or two, and then it's time for the big reveal, where we see exactly what went down.
Okay, hold on. You're probably thinking, why on earth are we cutting the seeds in half and throwing away the embryo? And that is a great question. This step is absolutely critical. Remember, the embryo is the part that naturally makes Gibberellin. We have to get rid of it. That way we know for sure that the only signal the seed is getting is the one we are giving it from our solutions. And there's another really important prep step, sterilization. Why bother? Well, seeds aren't perfectly clean. They've got tiny bacteria and fungi hanging out on the surface. And guess what? Some of those little microbes can also make enzymes that digest starch. If we didn't get rid of them, they would totally contaminate the experiment and mess up our results. So we give them a quick clean to make sure we're only seeing what the seed itself is doing.
All right, the seeds have been soaked, they've been sitting on the starch, the clock has run out, the secret chemical reaction has either happened or it hasn't. It's time to find out what went on. And to do that, we're going to use a simple chemical trick to make the invisible visible.
And that trick is good old iodine solution. It's a really simple indicator with one job. When it touches starch, it turns this dark blue-black color. No starch, it just stays that normal brownish yellow. Simple as that.
And here it is. This is what we see. We flood the plate with iodine and bam, most of it turns that dark blue-black color. But look, around some of the seeds, you see these clear halos, these zones where the color didn't change. That is our aha moment. That clear spot is where the starch is gone. Why? Because the amylase digested it all. And it's pretty obvious, right? A bigger clear zone means more amylase was at work, and more starch got broken down.
So there you have it. We started with a theory, we designed a careful experiment, and now we have clear visual evidence. It's time to put all the pieces together and make our final conclusion.
Remember, this whole thing, every single step, was designed to answer one critical question. What exactly is the effect of the Gibberellin concentration on the production of amylase? And the answer is crystal clear. The results show a direct positive correlation.
The stronger the gibberellin signal, in other words, the higher the concentration, the more amylase gets produced. That means more starch gets digested, which in turn gives us a bigger clear zone on the plate. The signal directly controls the action. Case closed.
So it turns out, a simple chemical text message is literally the key that unlocks a seed's entire energy store, allowing a new life to begin. Just one signal controlling this huge process. And that just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other secret signals, what other chemical conversations are happening all the time, controlling how plants grow, when they flower, and how they survive all around us?